This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
The Pokemon world, filled with the most amazing creatures imaginable. They swim in oceans, fly in the skies, roam the lands and mountains. We all play the games or watch the anime. We have also fantasized ourselves what it's like to be an actual Pokemon trainer. Big Hero 6, on the other hand, is a superhero story filled with characters saving the world from various villains, with the addition of exploring a character's journey to adulthood while being the youngest person in the school. In this crossover, here's Big Hero 6 characters as Pokemon trainers. Greetings everyone, this is Under the Sun and I'm your host, Rick. So first, some context. This web series is called Crossover. It's essentially various unrelated pieces of fiction interacting with each other. There are many types of crossovers. One is the isekai type, wherein one character is sent to a different world with characters of another piece of media. One example is the Kingdom Hearts series of games. Sora, the game's main protagonist, hops over to different worlds and interact with the characters native to those worlds, like the characters of Big Hero 6 or even Hercules. Then there's Fire Emblem Heroes, wherein someone summons a bunch of characters from a different world or timeline and have them interact with each other. Another type of crossover is having various characters interact with each other, but they are all native versions of a world, essentially a different version from their debut stories. One example are the Final Fantasy characters within Kingdom Hearts. They are native to a world called Radiant Garden, but are essentially different incarnations from their debut game. Another example are the Tales of Crossover games, most especially Tales of Crestoria. Character-wise, the tales of characters we are already familiar in Crestoria. They're the same, however, they're not the same characters as they were in their debut games, as they're supposed to be native to the world of Crestoria. In this web series, however, we don't really concern ourselves as to what type of crossover we are doing, but we are going to make a set of characters interact with some of the elements from another piece of media. In this instance, it's various characters as Pokemon trainers. Now with context out of the way, let's start with the crossover, starting with the hero himself, Hiro Hamada. Hiro, I imagine to have a team of a Magmortar, a Hypno, a Chingling, a Corviknight, a Emolga, a Magzone, and finally, a Ditto. There's some explanation. For instance, for Magmortar, in the manga, Hiro is a bit of a pyromaniac. Having a Magmortar would represent that trait of his, but it would also represent Baymax's flying fist attack. For Hypno, Hiro in the movie pretends to be a meek and have a weak robot to fight against Yama, at least in the beginning when he was bot fighting. To represent his sneaky side, a Hypno is an appropriate Pokemon for him to have. For Chingling, it's to represent him having Baymax. Chingling is also a good Pokemon for him to have, as it's also the only Pokemon he has that has a healing move. For Corviknight, Hiro has an affinity for flying. It couldn't be more obvious during the escape scene with him and Tadashi and during his test flight with Baymax. A Corviknight is fitting for him because it's also a steel type, and it also doubles as a representation for Hiro's genius in robotics. An Emolga because Emolga also represents Hiro's affinity for flying, but it also doubles as a representation for his affinity with robots. Magzone is a Pokemon fit for Hiro, especially considering it's a Pokemon that's made of bolts and is powered by electricity. It's a perfect representation for his affinity for robots. Ditto. Ditto, he has a Ditto that he does not use for fighting, but for training. He also has a Ditto for illegal Ditto fights. As we know, Hiro is an illegal bot fighter, but instead of bot fights, the Pokemon world has illegal Ditto fights. Now for the big brother himself, Tadashi Hamada. I imagine Tadashi to have a team of a Blissey, a Chimecho, an Ampharos, an Empoleon, a Marowak, specifically an Alolan Marowak, a Porygon Z, a Ditto, and finally a Gyarados. Blissey. The quote Tadashi is known for is "somebody has to help," a scene before he went into the Spitfire that supposedly took his life. Callaghan lived when the both of them were declared dead. Why can't he have a survived too? Tadashi built Baymax, a healthcare robot, to help a lot of people. I feel like Blissey, who we've seen in the Pokemon anime to be Nurse Joy's partner Pokemon at the Pokemon Center from Gen 1 to Gen 6, if I remember correctly, would be a great representation for his caring nature. A Chimecho, originally a Chingling, is a very good representation of Baymax because look at Baymax's face and look at Chingling's face. See any similarities? For Ampharos, as a roboticist, and robots do run on electricity, Ampharos is here to represent that side of Tadashi's character. In all seriousness though, Ampharos represents the metaphorical light that Tadashi became in the movie. He was the metaphorical light that Hiro followed. And Empoleon, because in supplementary materials, there's an instance where Hiro suggests making a fire-breathing robot. In retrospect, the movie did double down on this suggestion, with Hiro making it as part of Fred's costume. Anyway, Tadashi wasn't really into the idea and he did get himself a fire extinguisher to put out the fire that happened. I feel like Empoleon best represents that event. And Alolan Marowak represents Tadashi's longing for his parents. He's the only one among the siblings, to actually remember them. A Porygon Z, because of Tadashi's ability to make complex codes into Baymax. And that is heavily represented in this Pokemon. Now for Ditto and Gyarados. For Ditto, like his younger brother, Tadashi has a Ditto of his own for training purposes, but he does not use it for illegal Ditto fights. As for Gyarados, it was originally a Magikarp he once rescued, so he does not use it for battle at all. For Honey Lemon, I feel like she would have a team of a Gardevoir, a Camerupt, a Sylveon, a Mr. Mime, an Alakazam, and a Corsola. For Gardevoir, this is a Pokemon that I feel most fit Honey Lemon and her girly attitude. For Camerupt, Honey Lemon loves explosions, especially explosions caused by chemical reactions. Camerupt represents that part of her. A Sylveon, originally an Eevee, the fact that Honey had an Eevee fully represents her affinity with chemistry and its many branches. Evolving into a Sylveon represents her affinity with fashion. Mr. Mime's ability to mime something into existence represents her weapon to a degree. With the push of a button, she can create chemical compounds that suit her situation as the need arises. Alakazam was originally an Abra. Its ability to teleport things into place or away from a place kinda represents Honey Lemon's Marvel Comics counterpart of having a purse, where she can get something she wants anytime, like essentially teleporting that something that she needs into her hand and pulls it out of her extra-dimensional bag. I know, super weird. And for Corsola, I feel like it just fits with her character. For Wasabi, I feel like Wasabi would have a team of a Tyranitar, a Gallade, a Cinccino, a Lucario, an Aegislash, and a Leafeon. I feel like Tyranitar would represent Wasabi's bulky and buffed up stature. Gallade would represent his laser swords and his general fighting style. Cinccino, originally a Minccino, this Pokemon represents Wasabi's need to keep things orderly and clean. Lucario represents Wasabi's affinity to meditate and the need to keep a calm mind, despite not really having it. Aegislash, like Gallade, this Pokemon also represents Wasabi in his heroic getup. Leafeon represents Wasabi's likes, like the color green, and his hobbies, like sustainable gardening. For Gogo, I feel like she would have a team of a Rapidash, an Arcanine, an Absol, a Hitmontop, a Medicham, and a Tsareena. The three four-legged Pokemon are three of the speediest and most agile Pokemon out there. Rapidash is mostly used for racing, while Arcanine is used by law enforcement to chase criminals. Absol, on the other hand, is fast to warn the people of what's incoming. The fighting Pokemon represents Gogo's active lifestyle and physicality, and her willingness to do physically active activities. As for Fred, I feel like most of Fred's Pokemon team are Dragon types, and the Pokemon on his team are the Pokemon that he would fanboy over, like Salamence, Flygon, Kingdra, Altaria, and Dragonite. We can't forget about Aunt Cass. I feel like Aunt Cass would have a team of a Persian, a Delcatty, a Slurpuff, an Appletun, a Togekiss, a Heatrodom, and a Kangaskhan. Persian and Delcatty represent Aunt Cass's cafe, the Lucky Cat Cafe, and they also represent Mochi, the Hamada family's hairy baby cat. Slurpuff and Appletun represent Aunt Cass's food business. Togekiss represents her sweet disposition. Heatrodom represents her business as well, as she bakes and cooks for a living. Kangaskhan is the Pokemon that represents how she stepped up to the plate and took care of her orphaned nephews. And now we have Professor Robert Callaghan. Professor Callaghan would have a team of an Aggron, a Metagross, a Bronzong, a Scizor, a Klinklang, and a Forretress. These Pokemon represent his robotics profession and his aggression towards Gray, who got his daughter killed, or seemingly killed. And that's all the Pokemon teams that I have for you today. Now, who do you want to have a Pokemon team next? Goro Akechi, Katsuki Bakugo, Naruto Uzumaki, Ruby Rose, Billy Batson? Comment below. And as always, thanks for watching and ciao ciao!